I'd like to welcome you guys to this week's report. It's Thursday here. I think it's the 29th, 28th, 29th. Anyway, we're getting ready to go into the 4th of July weekend here. We've got a lot of guys have a long weekend, maybe 4 days off. Some might only have 2 days off and then work and then 1 day off. But the good news is during that time, you'll have some decent fishing weather in most areas. A lot of the wind that's been plaguing us has backed off a bit. So I don't really see too much on the map that's going to be unfishable. You might have some wind at the northern Channel Islands and out past Clemente, maybe Cortez Bank, things like that. But overall, it looks okay. It's not perfect weather, but it's a lot better than we've had. So that's a good thing. Why don't we head up to the map and see what's happening? Okay, starting up the Channel Islands, that area up there continues to divide pretty well, considering we're not on any kind of a lunar phase right now. I know the my buddies from the New Del Mar went up to fish on the Aloha Spirit earlier this week. They had sea bass, halibut, rockfish, a bunch of barracuda, which is good to see, calico bass, things like that. So, you know, it's mixed bag fishing up there right now. There's still some big yellows, nice size halibut, and sea bass biting, but you know, you just have to be there on the right day. And as we get in the next lunar cycle, it should improve a bit, hopefully. Sorry about that. Heading down to San Clemente Island. Not a ton of coverage this week because of the weather. Boats were pretty much stuck on the front side of the island, but they had pretty good fishing for yellows. Some days better than others. I know today, Thursday, the Thunderbird didn't get any fish until the very end of the day. But other days they do well throughout the day. It's a mixed grade of yellows there, small ones, medium size. No real giants on the front side. There might still be some big ones on the back. But yeah, just good summertime frontside fishing. You know, it's been a while because all this offshore stuff, that's a real staple and has been since I was a kid, going up there anchored up on the front side, waiting for conditions to come together and having the yellows bite. Catch bass and nonsense bonita, other stuff in the meantime. But glad to see those boats doing that. They've also been getting some really nice calicos on the front side when they're not catching yellow. I know the Thunderbird had 2 real nice ones earlier this week, and thankfully they're releasing those bigger fish. That's really good to see. I like that. You know, I'm not opposed to keeping calicos. Keep all you want, but I wouldn't keep one that big. It's an old fish, and yeah, a 2-pounder eats a lot better in my opinion. Heading to Cat, there's been some, you know, steady yellowtail fishing for the sport boats over there. Mostly small fish, but the Fury got like a 47-pounder the other day, which is pretty amazing. It's just a big home guard fish. You see that from time to time, but that's not any indication that size fish is going to be actively biting there anytime soon. But good bass fishing at the island as well. I know they're getting them on flatline sardines, on the sport boats. Also, the private boaters going over there, getting good fish on hard baits, different than my friend Randy and Matt Florentino were over at the island earlier this week, and they had some good fishing on the new AFCO hard baits and the AFCO swimmers, which I might take over there with me if I go Saturday. Thinking about doing that, maybe looking for tuna afterwards. But yeah, so there's good fishing all over the island. Front side, back side, east end, west end, you name it. Just go find an area without a bunch of boats, and you're going to be better off as a private boater. One of the problems you have at Cat and Clemente is there's a lot of sea lions at those islands. And if you hang around where the sport boats are, or you hang around where the other boat, there's a bunch of boats anchored up, you're probably going to have sea lions on you. You have a much better shot at catching the fish you hook if you stay away from the crowded areas, because that's where all the dogs are going to be. So, just my 2 cents on that. Anyway, heading into the coast, fished PV on Tuesday afternoon. Actually had really good fishing. It was all the calicos up there just keyed in on what I call rice. I mean, it's bait like tiny, almost no CM size bait, and they're up boiling and foaming on and stuff like that, but they're pretty hard to catch on a lure when they're like that. We got all of our fish on that little 6-inch MC slug again, and mostly, you know, 3 pounds and under. Matt got one about 5 pounds that came off while he was bouncing into the boat, and I lost a absolute giant. Yeah, one of those. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have the video running because it would have been all bleeps. Just telling you, it was a real good one. You know, that's the thing about PV. You know, there's really big fish there, but they don't cooperate very often. You put in a lot of time up there, tens of thousands of casts to get that one opportunity. And then when you do get that bite, half the time you don't convert. And when you do convert, and to lose it on a kelp string a few feet from the boat is pretty disappointing. But, you know, I guess that's what keeps me going anyway. While I'm talking about PV, One of the things that Matt and I have noticed this season especially is that it is different every time we go up there. And I've mentioned this before. There's no two trips the same. I could go within 24 hours, I could be there twice and not have the same conditions both times. Or the fish biting in the same way. And that brings up something very important to you guys as anglers, is that the reason that we consistently catch fish there or anywhere else, I believe, is due to the fact that I fish confidently when I go. And that may sound like an oversimplification, but it's really not. What it means is that anytime I go fishing, I go in with the confidence that they're going to be biting somewhere and I'm going to find where those fish are biting. I don't always, but more often than not I do. And the reason is because I just don't settle. I don't give up. I don't make a determination of how the rest of the day is going to be based on what I'm seeing in one spot or at one moment. And I talked last week about conditions changing quickly. When I had a lack of confidence in my ability to catch fish on my own boat, I would go somewhere, or let's say I would see someone's report from TV on Tuesday, like my report. Obviously not by me. And I would go up on Saturday and it's not sunny and the kelp's not laying down the beach and there's water temperatures a different color. I would have been like, man, I should have been here the other day. This sucks. I'm not going to catch anything. Let me go fish sand bass. Let me go do something else. Or just give up. It's just beat this dead horse even further to death here in these bad conditions. But as I've gotten more experience, I've learned that, hey, you know, just because they're not biting right here or conditions are bad right here, if they don't eat somewhere today, they're going to be starving to death. So let me go and figure out, let me trust my confidence in doing things and biting these fish. And this last trip, what it really took was the fact that I had to go and not only drive a lot to find conditions that were favorable, but then spend a lot of time trying different depths in those conditions to find these biting fish, inside, outside, middle, and constantly reversing that and going through, even if there's a slight change in conditions, rethinking the whole plan. And really what happened is eventually I did figure it out, and then it came to the point where I could predict where the fish are going to bite. I could say, hey, you know, we're catching them right here. Let me pull up this next edge of this bed here, and we'll catch 2 or 3 more. And it's just like clockwork at that point. I'm not some great fisherman. I'm just someone who really is confident that I'm going to find these biting fish, and I drive around a ton till I get these bites, and I make a determination as to why I'm getting the bites based on my confidence in my fishing ability, which leads me to make other decisions and correct on the fly. This same thing works offshore fishing. You know, there's when I first started fishing offshore on my own boat, I would get out there and just be like, I have no idea what I'm doing out here. And then sometimes I catch fish and feel great, and I go out there the next day and feel like, man, I have no idea what I'm doing out here, and I'm just gonna, it's almost overwhelming, the proposition of what to do next if you don't have confidence in a game plan. So what I started doing was coming up with my own game plans before I left and then running them regardless of how bad the fishing was. You know, I'm gonna hit these 8 different spots. You know, I'm gonna do a 100-mile loop here, hitting 8 different banks or ridges at different times of day, and I'm going to look at all these different features or these temp breaks and everything else. And in the beginning, that just seems crazy if you're used to just driving around looking for boats or going to where you heard they were biting and not catching them. But once you do that, you build the confidence in your ability. You just find them once. Just find them once on your own, and you'll start to build that confidence. And the confidence is not blind confidence. It's based on fundamentals. You know, where are the banks? How do fish relate to banks? That's all common information. You know, they're always biting at the same places. What does the current look like? The chlorophyll chart. What does the sea surface temperature look like? Where are there areas that look like there might be fish? Tell you what, if you find 6 areas on the map that look like they might hold fish, and there's some story that supports that, you know, there's fish biting here. Let's say there's fish biting down at the corner, and you've got that good, same conditions running up Clementi Ridge, or at the macro bank of the 289, fish might not be at all of those spots, but you can be pretty confident they're going to be at one of those. So have the confidence to go out and look, and when you don't find them, keep driving. I don't stop. The way tuna fishing has been the last few years, I start looking once we get 5 miles outside Newport Harbor, and I do not stop looking until we're 5 miles from Newport Harbor on the way home. They can be anywhere out there, and and I'm confident that I'm going to find them. You know, even on tough days, it's we don't always catch them because we use lures that don't really work all the time because they're not feeding on the surface. But there's almost, I count on one hand the number of trips where I didn't find them when they're biting somewhere, you know, and that's it's just that blind confidence that makes you the better fisherman. And you know, I'm not sitting here bragging about my fishing skills or anything like that. I'm just trying to share with you guys that you can do this too. You know, be it bass, be it yellowtail, sea bass, whatever. Come up with a game plan and execute it. And if it doesn't work, adjust. Keep trying, keep looking, because that next kelp bed or that next reef or that next ridge might be where the fish are. I mean, yeah, I guess that's all I mean. Just, you know, fish confidently. It's really going to change your results in the long term. It may not happen overnight, but it's going to be a much better resource for you than just going out and, you know, being on a milk run every trip that either bites or doesn't. So, again, enough of me talking about that. You know, the bluefin offshore, still biting. Actually biting a little bit better now down in San Diego. Full day boats are, you know, getting 50, 60 fish up to limits on fly line baits, which is good to see. There's nicer grade fish, too. Fish you can actually land and have an opportunity to catch multiple fish instead of just, you know, two guys hanging 150 pounders, the rest of the guys watching. That should hold up. I don't know why it wouldn't. I mean, you know, maybe into the next full moon might even get better then. Who knows? Not a lot of coverage from the 4-pack boats this week due to all the wind out there, but I'm sure those fish are still biting in the areas where they were biting. I know I saw a couple of long-range boats up around Clemente, and they're getting those bigger fish at night and during the day as well. So I think that those fish that those guys were on is still up in that zone. Again, I might take a look after fishing cat Saturday if the weather permits. Yeah, long-range boats, multi-day trips, you know, day and a half, two and a half, 3-day trips. That's your best shot if you want to go on a sport boat and catch fish. You got daytime and nighttime. They'll fly kites during the day. They'll knife jig your brains out at night. They fall back on yellows and stuff like that if the tuna aren't biting. Other than that, you know, just going a full day. Have to deal with a lot of people and probably a lot of boats this weekend because it is a holiday weekend. You know, if I were going to go on a full day out of San Diego, I would wait till Wednesday instead of going out this weekend. It's not the people on the boat you're on. It's going to be the people on the water around the boat you're on. And they make a very big target. Those are the boats that are not competent to go out and find their own fish, or are going to be boogering you guys the whole time. So, yeah, that's it. Bluefin down there. Not much else has changed. 4th of July is coming up. If you got dogs that get freaked out, please get some kind of sedative for them, or make sure they're locked up in a room and buried under a blanket somewhere so they don't get too upset about the fireworks. And certainly don't let them outside because they run away a lot. I know my dogs are a mess. So anyway, you guys have a happy 4th of July and good luck with your fishing.